Hey, welcome to Displacer Geeks. My name is Brian.
And I'm Hudson. We're two geeks talking about the geek.
Talking about the geek. Today's topic is our favorite moments at Gen Con. Hudson and I have been to Gen Con several times in our lives. We're two old men, but we still love to go. That was so stupid. Keep it in. Why not?
What we are solidly middle aged.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so what happens when you don't have a script? Face
Oh
is
man,
turning a little red here.
it's
Okay, well
okay.
let's talk about fun things at Gen Con. In fact, let's talk about our favorite moments. You can have fun all the time at Gen Con, and I've never been to a Gen Con that I did not have fun in. I've loved it every time I've gone.
Yep.
But there are definitely some standout moments that have happened.
Oh yeah.
So I know we have pretty good luck here. Anybody that we've ever taken to for the first time, they always have some great story, including me and including you, my brother, everybody. And it's just so neat. It's so neat. So, Hudson, why don't you share with everybody what happened? What was the mega moment of your Gen Con first time experience?
Sure. So 2018 was the first year I was able to go. Now I want to point out that one of the reasons I couldn't go was because of I was in the National Guard and there was always conflicts to making that happen. And even that year, the unit I was drilling with, they had drill that weekend that General Con was on.
Oh, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
or I forgot.
Um, so I just remember just like shaking my head. I'm like, yeah, this is silly. So it was the first year I was even really an option to go. And we had really just started getting into 5e. So I had started watching a bunch of different actual play podcasts, including Critical Role. Like, how do you not watch that one, right? And they were just getting really started on their second campaign, and I was really engrossed in it. And they were going to do a live show at Gen Con. And I think that thing was sold out within an hour. Like
Oh, I bet.
it was so fast. We found out about it. We went to go look for tickets and they were sold out. Like
Yep.
we were I was just kind of like, like it isn't the end of the world. We can just go watch it later. Like we can watch it on like a playback or whatever. We just won't be able to watch it that night. Or we could have
Hmm.
even gone to like the hotel and just watched it like on our phones or whatever if we wanted.
Sure.
Uh, but still, like I was like, whatever, Critical Role's here. I was wearing my Critical Role t-shirt, and we were playing a playtest for Pathfinder Second Edition,
Oh, that's awesome.
right? And this girl dressed as Jester from Critical Role comes up to me and gives me the blessing of the Traveler.
Nice.
And
Just
was
randomly.
just while I was wearing the Critical Role
Oh,
t-shirt, and she could
yeah,
see
yeah.
the back of it, right? And I was
Sure.
just like, thanks, Jester. And everyone's like, you know her? And I'm like, no. Uh, and then, but she gave me like this little plastic piece of it was a flower in a little plastic place, but it was the blessing of the
Awesome.
shower. And then we were sitting there. I was sitting there with your older brother, and he goes, "There's seats available for the show." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's seats
What?
available." Yeah, and he's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well," and then I ended up paying for the seats,
Yeah.
and then there was a third guy that was rooming with us. He was super chill because we weren't walking, right? We had gotten in like one that was like down by the airport. So we were driving in like 20 minutes every day. He was super chill about us just basically ditching him.
Because there's only two seats.
There was only two seats, and I don't
So
know
the
that he would have been interested anyway.
Yeah, yeah. But the amazing thing is it was sold out for months,
Mm-hmm.
and you get blessed, and then Mark happens to check his phone for seats, and there's two.
Two, yeah,
Like
two.
that is insane.
And then we went to dinner. And to get into dinner, I was like really stressed about dinner because I'm like, we got to get in. So we got in pretty smoothly. And then on top of that, like we got done with dinner, everything. It was like when we got done with dinner, it was like the perfect time to go to the car to leave. The traffic is super smooth, and we're driving to the theater, and we're like looking for a place to park. And there was a spot that wasn't that far away. They had a spot available for
So
us to grab
to
to
the
the
show. You go,
show.
what?
Like
I
it
didn't
was
know
just
that part.
yeah, no, it was just like like we went straight, like, and like it wasn't like we looked around for the parking. We were like driving to the theater, like in the theater is
Wow.
like straight ahead. There's parking to the right, and we drove around in the parking, found the parking spot, and got a spot. Just it was just that easy.
That's
And then,
amazing.
yep,
You got
and
blessed by Jester for a
yep,
Critical Role show.
yep, we
And
did.
and that was the last time they were there, right?
I think so. I think
Yeah, that's
so.
crazy. I wonder why they don't go every year.
I don't know. Um,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah,
yep.
that's
And then
awesome.
so, but yeah, and then like we went to the show. It was a super amazing show. Like the show
Yeah.
was like top tier one anyway
Oh
because
yeah, Mark. I know Mark talked about how much he loved it too.
it was they were rescuing their friends that had been captured. And then so they were able to get them rescued, and they were able to and then they had like a guest appearance too that was really just
That's
super
awesome.
yeah, well, super well received. The
That's
guy
awesome.
was the guy was like found a statue of Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Yeah, he found a statue of Cleopatra. So he summoned his spiritual weapon in the shape of Cleopatra. And when he did that, he goes backstage and drags out this statue. I was like,
That's awesome.
yeah, like I was like, man, this guy. Oh, it was such a great show. Such a great show.
That's awesome. Very
Ah,
cool.
yeah.
It's yeah. First Gen Cons always have a super special moment. So mine would have been the mid to late 90s the first time I went. Uh, and we are sitting in line or standing in line when we first get there. And apparently I was looking over somebody's shoulder in front of me because they were looking through their program. They're skimming through their program book, and there was a full page of the band They Might Be Giants on the program, which happens to be one of my favorite bands of all time. So then when I'm like, what? They Might Be Giants are on there. What? So we scramble, get a program. Maybe we even ask that guy, and we find out that They Might Be Giants performed live at Gen Con for Gen Con that year. It was
Nice.
like the craziest thing. Like, what are the odds that the first time I ever go, my favorite band's there? Like, what in the world? It
Yep.
was so cool. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Gen Con magic.
Gen Con magic, man. It is. And then, oh man, I always, as soon as you say They Might Be Giants, I always like to think about it's like Triangle Man,
Particle Man. Yeah,
Particle
of
Man.
course. And
Yeah.
Istanbul Night. Yeah. Yep.
But
You got another moment?
I do. It was the year I went with you and both your brothers.
Okay. Oh, man. I don't I don't know why this is one of your favorite moments of all time.
It
Oh
was
boy,
just
here
like,
we go.
here we go. So
Tell the story.
we get to the hotel room, and we had been there 2 minutes, and I don't remember who it was. It was one of the brothers. It wasn't me. It was one of the brothers, and somebody was like trying to work the door, and it was one of those doors that slide in, like hideaway doors or whatever they call it, where they slide into
Yeah,
the
the
wall.
slide
It's,
doors.
yeah, but instead of like just pulling straight out, like they were like trying to lift up on the little latch thing, and just like snapped it. I was like, oh my, oh my, what? Come on, guys, we
Yeah,
haven't.
had a broken bathroom door the whole week. And again,
No, I think it
one
got
one
fixed. No, it got fixed right away.
no,
But I
no, it
thought
did
for
not.
sure.
No, it did not.
Oh
Or it
man,
wouldn't lock. It wouldn't lock afterwards. Something was up because we had to make sure that nobody
I
accidentally opened the door on somebody.
I mean that's pretty easy. Just don't open the
I know.
door. But it was just maybe that never worked. But I just remember like we had to like, hey, the door's
Right
broken
away.
right away. I'm like, guys,
No.
I don't want to be paying an extra $200 and getting kicked out. Like this is way too like was
Yeah.
it was Wednesday night before the show. Like I can't be getting kicked out of this hotel. You can't be breaking stuff like
Yeah. Uh,
that.
Speaking of which, many moons ago, would have been late 90s probably too. One of our friends, John, was there, and we arrive and we go into the super nice hotel right across the street, which at the time we would never get very often. It was so hard to get. And sure enough, John decides when we're going through the revolving door, I don't know if he like stopped and held onto the door to like mess with everybody in the door, and a piece of the frame falls down like a big metal piece,
Oh
and
no.
that revolving door was broken the entire week. And that somehow we didn't get in trouble for it.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel
Yeah,
better about the door at the hotel.
we're gonna get
Oh,
banned from Gen Con in the future. We apparently just break hotel doors.
yeah.
um,
Actually, it got, I don't, 2020 was a bad year for a lot of people, right? But I do remember it was Gen Con was online only, but it was still a good time, right? Like you still, like everybody was playing digitally, but we still got to go do it. I was like ordering Grubhub instead of going to food trucks or whatever. But I remember still like, I was like, I'm gonna make a best of a bad situation.
that's cool. Yeah,
And I
that's
was just
cool.
like, I still remember, like I was still playing games with my friends, and we were playing Cobalt Ate My Baby. And the game is completely ridiculous, by the way. It uses,
No, with a name like that.
yeah, it uses the stats beer. You spell out beer.
Oh, nice, nice.
That's your stats, and then you have like four stats. Um, but I figured out very quickly I wasn't very good at like doing certain things, but I was very good at taking things.
Oh, all right,
So my
nice.
friend was very good at doing things, and I was very good at taking things from him. And I would be like, he would do a thing, and I'm like, I steal it from him.
And you succeeded all the time.
Most of the time, and he would just like sit
Awesome.
there and like you would just like sit there and like give me a like because you have like your cameras and stuff set up. Like he was just like staring at me like, every time. He's like,
That's awesome.
he got his ear cut
Funny.
off at one point. I don't
Yeah.
remember how, but he got his ear cut off. His character got his ear cut off, and I'm like,
Oh,
I
ear
still,
cut off. Ouch.
yeah. I'm like, I still his ear.
Nice.
We
Nice.
had to make sandwiches for a competition. He made like two sandwiches. I stole them both. uh,
Awesome.
I was like,
Fun.
I couldn't make the sandwich to save my life, but I could steal his all day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh man, I'm sure you got a few
Um,
good ones too.
yeah, so fun games. I mean, way back in the day, there was a game called Fuzzy Heroes, and this is gonna sound so strange, but it showed up and people are playing a role-playing game with stuffed animals. You're Fuzzy Heroes. It's like, okay. That was pretty funny. There was another one called, I don't remember what the game was called, but it was had to do with clay. So you would build your character out of Play-Doh and then you would physically fight with the characters at the table. So our
Was
friend
this at the
Jason,
playtest?
no, this was just a game being run. I forget what it was called, but the guy our friend Jason, who's always smart, was like, "Oh, I know how to beat everybody." And he just made a bowling ball because you can't really break it. So people are building like stick figure things. He's just chucking his bowling ball at it and breaking it.
Oh man, I
Very,
mean that's
very Jason like for sure,
yep,
right?
yep, yep. Gen Con, I got to play Robot Rally and how
Oh
they
yeah, the one with this big robot set up on the floor.
yeah. So
Yeah,
the game is like you got to do like predictive, like you got so many moves. You don't always get the moves you want, but like you're trying to get to certain spots. And they got this thing set up so like you can play like you plug in your moves and it moves like it does like remote control signal to the robots to
yeah,
like move the stuff and like yeah, I'm like
that's awesome, and that's hard to get into, isn't it?
yeah, I
Yeah.
got in. I think I've gotten in once.
Jeez. There was a game that I got into that, I mean, it's like super fond memory. It was so amazing. It was called Dual Dungeon Duel. And I remember trying to get into it for a couple years, and I finally did. It was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, from what I remember. And
Yeah,
at that time, I had never really played Dungeons and Dragons aside from maybe once or twice. And the premise of it is that there's two game masters at two different tables in the same room with like 10 people around the table in each table. And it was one giant dungeon map and each game master was running the same game. Your group with your game master, you're trying to get to the main treasure at the end, the big mega treasure, and the other group's trying to do it as well. And then whoever gets to the end first and grabs the like staff of lightning or whatever it was, the other group teleports into the room, and then they all duke it out.
Right.
And it was chaotic and super fun. And that was the year I remember D&D people were mad at me because I didn't know D&D rules very well. And they kept saying THACO, and I'm like, what is THACO? And they're like,
Oh
it's
my
armor class. And then they like were trying to explain to me, like, you don't know THACO? And then I started cursing and being like, forget THACO. So I just wanted to have a shirt that said forget THACO on it, because I just
oh
thought that
man.
was the most bizarre way to figure out armor class. But that was
Yeah.
super, that
Throw
was
to
so
hit
fun.
AC 0.
Ah, funny, nice. Oh, and I remember too, they were like, you walk into a room, each dungeon room had something special, and they're like, there's halflings playing poker, and there's a treasure chest on the table. And in my head, I'm like, well, this is like a one shot, and we're trying to get to the end. So I said, I attacked the halflings, and the whole group's like, what? Why would you attack the halflings? I'm like, because we're trying to get to the end, and there's treasure there. So I was just like this murder hobo, and everybody was like kind of getting frustrated with me, but I don't remember who won either at the end. Well, we beat the
Yeah.
halflings, I remember that, but that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
super fun.
I mean, it wasn't Gen Con, but at another con, I had a moment like where it was like I had
How
beat.
dare you? Hey, how dare you? This isn't
How dare ya. I cheated on Gen Con, but
cheated
like
on Gen Con.
I remember I had beat this monster. Was like we had been fighting this monster. I'm like, this is getting dumb, and I got the polymorph off on it.
Oh, nice. What'd you turn
I
into?
a goldfish. And
Nice.
the best part was is we were on a ship, right? So the goldfish was in the water, and like we can just sail away.
Hmm.
And the barbarian like sits there and looks at me, looks at the group, looks at me, looks at the GM, looks at me, and everybody goes, out. And he doesn't. He goes after the goldfish. And we're like, what? The fight was over.
So he resumed the goldfish popped back into true form and continued to attack you. Those darn barbarians.
I hope the guy had fun. It was,
That's
but I was
awesome.
just. Also, he was about to die. I ended up saving him later in that fight, even though I was like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, I could just kick you overboard right now. But
All right, I
yeah,
got another one to tell you. This one I had to write some of these down because I knew I'd forget. I think it was the second year I went to Gen Con. We bring my brother Chad. And somehow, well, I know how, my other brother and I can completely overlook things that are right in our front of us. We get a little zeroed in on stuff. And this was in Milwaukee at the time. And we were walking up to this building, and we're saying, yeah, it's right here. And we walk up these steps, and we go to a door that has a glass window, and through the window we see a bulldozer smashing the building that we're like looking through. And we're just like, what? They had like moved one of the buildings or something to a different location, and
it was like
we were
across the
so
street too. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
We just
remember this
were,
story. Oh my
yeah,
god.
completely. I don't know how we missed that. Well, again, I do know because we are like that, but we're like, yeah, this is the auction hall. Like, oh, uh, yeah. I mean, a wrecking ball. uh, right.
Okay. Well, your brother's like, so where are we going?
Yeah. Gen Con's no longer.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Uh, this guy right here
Oh
is
Mark.
one of my favorite stories of ever in my entire life. So that is a head in a jar drawing of Mark Singer. He's the lead actor for the original V series, the original Beastmaster movie, and he was a special guest one year, and and he was living it up. So he was just walking around the entire con the whole weekend, like walking around, but he was like super cheesy and like giving everybody pats on the backs and be like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good. Hey, all right." Like shaking your hand, like, "Hey, you having a good time? Awesome. All right." It was the most absurd thing ever, right? And that year, we one of my friends and I were waiting at the elevator, and my friend plays the piano, and It's like late on a Saturday night or something, and we hear somebody playing piano in the lounge, and my friend's like, "Oh, he's killing that song," and we look over, and it's Mark Singer, and he just gets done playing piano, stands up and finger guns somebody, and walks out.
Insane.
It's yeah, so absurd. Oh, that was great.
I think one year I went and I played when I was playing, I won like board games, right? Like you can't win like every single game, but like I was playing board games. I won every single game until I
Oh,
went to the
jeez.
play test hall with you and
Oh.
you and your brother, and you were playing the farmer game with the cards.
Hmm.
And then like they're like, okay, this is how you play the farmer game. And then like you guys just like crush me, and I'm like, oh yeah, because you guys play apparently are like, yeah, we play this game all the time. I'm like, yeah. And then I absolutely, it was like I think I put up a decent fight, but I was just like I couldn't. It was too much to come over.
That's funny.
I think I
That's
even
funny.
beat that year. I think we even played like a training game.
Yeah.
Train.
Hmm. I have a magnet of it somewhere still.
Oh, I do.
I don't
Actually,
see it around.
mine's on my fridge.
Nice. I think Mark has his too.
um, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
was a good game.
I think I won that. I won that one against you guys.
Oh.
But that for that farmers game, like, you guys like knew what you were doing. I'm like,
That's
also
funny.
when we were playing the train game, he was talking about one of like he was like listing all the different areas, and then
Hmm.
he goes Rapungi. And I'm like Rapungi, and he like the guy was like creates the game was like yeah Rapungi like kind of looks at me weird. I'm like oh don't worry about it. It's like an inside joke. Um, so the inside joke was is when I went to Iraq, this Marine was talking about going to Tokyo and going to the Roppongi district all the time and like
Oh,
all the stuff
okay.
out of there. And I was just like, he'd be like, I didn't know any Japanese or anything, but I'd hear it on the train. He'd be like, dun dun dun, Roppongi. And they'd be like, this is our stop. But that's all I can think about when that guy said Roppongi.
That's funny. That's funny. I will share. I like to compete at Gen Con for painting, so I will share that I at one point finally got some coins in the P3 contest, so that was pretty fun. Got some a bronze and two silvers, it looks like, so that's kind
Oh,
of a fun accomplishment.
yeah.
All the times I didn't place were a little crushing, but that's okay. Live and learn.
Yeah.
But
One thing I'll say, Brian, is I remember your first time I saw your models versus what you can do now. And night and day, you have come so many miles, so
oh,
many.
sure. Yeah.
Like, and I'm still doing the same same crap.
Well, I mean, I'm a little obsessed with it at times, so
I mean,
But
you say obsessed, but like you definitely have found a passion and done well with it. So
thank you. Nice. If you want to hear some ridiculous Gen Con stories, you could listen to this podcast that uh, Hudson and I did. Me and our friends did a Gen Con parody podcast called Gen Con, and it's a Shadowrun one. We also have a fantasy one called The Princess Died, question mark. And you can find those on D4 on the Floor on Spotify. So if you want super ridiculous absurdity, those two Gen Con parodies are a lot of fun, like completely silly.
yep, they
Yep,
are.
they are so silly that this was Hudson's character, the little blonde dude right there, the dwarf, and
Oh yeah, I was
he
trying to
was
be.
annoyed as can be with the absurdity that night.
Oh man, I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. I think you said Shadowrun. I was like, cool, we're gonna go play Shadowrun. So I
No,
made
no,
this
no.
like hard
I told
character.
you super silly Shadowrun, and
I just
that didn't register
it did not
apparently.
register. So
And I
I
don't know how.
showed up with this guy, and I'm like, I'm gonna be super hard. And you're like, and then you're like, start telling me the story. I don't want to say too much, but I was just like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not that I can't do super silly. It was just like it was
yeah.
copy completely. It was just side swipe.
The first contact, I think, got everybody thrown off. Awesome. Well, we hope to. We're going to be at Gen Con this year, so if you see us, you say hi to us. That'd be great.
Mhm. We'll be
But
there.
yes, thank you for listening. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, and we will keep making videos as long as you listen. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Everybody have a good day.